I'm Daphne Munroe. I'm an assistant professor at the Haskin Shellfish Research Laboratory in Bivalve, New Jersey. I study larval ecology, so I study the way that populations change over time through their population processes, through babies being born, moving from one place to another. And what this does is it effectively controls how populations change in time and in space. And this has all kinds of interesting implications, not only for the industries that rely on these populations, things like clams and oysters that we fish or that we farm in the coastal ecosystem, but it also has interesting implications on the science side of evolution. How are these populations changing over evolutionary time? The way that larvae move around really controls those things as well. And in my research, I use a combination of larval experiments and field observations, and I often work very closely with the industry. I'll go out on industry boats, I'll go out on fishing vessels, and I'll go out on clam farms or oyster farms to do my field work. But then I also pair that up with modeling. I work very closely with some of the physical oceanographers in the Institute of Marine and Coastal Sciences, and we work together on models that can look at what's going on right now with these industries and with these ecosystems, and how we can look to the future for climate change questions or industry sustainability questions. I've been working closely with a couple of industries. One in particular is the offshore clam industry. And what we've been looking at in that bit of research is we've been looking at how this population's been shifting geographically over time. The clam population has been moving northward, or at least the southern extent of the range has been suffering. We've been working very closely with the fishermen. We've been going out, being part of the surveys to assess how many clams are out there, how they're doing, but then also to look at how the industry is going to be able to respond, how the management structure should respond. And so we've been looking at how this is going to play out over time. And ultimately, it's a climate change question. This is changing bottom water temperatures that are driving this shift. And so how can we use what we know about the clam biology and the coastal oceanography in concert with the management structure of the fishery, the industry itself, to try to understand how this is going to affect both the socioeconomics of communities along the coast over time. One of the reasons that I was drawn to shellfish ecology and to this field of research is that these populations are very well integrated. They're tightly connected to coastal communities. And New Jersey is a fantastic example of this. There's so many industries and so many businesses that rely so much on the productivity of the coastal ecosystems, and shellfish is a very integral part of this. There's shellfish everywhere, and we're using them in New Jersey both in fisheries and in aquaculture for food resources, but we're also using them to restore habitats, to restore ecosystem functioning, for nutrient cycling and health of our coastal ecosystem. So I think not only from an industry perspective or a human use perspective, but also just from an ecological health perspective, these things are very, very important to our coastal habitats and our coastal ecosystems. One of the things that makes the Haskin Shellfish Lab the perfect place for me to do the type of research I do is because of its tight integration with industry. We share a dock, we share a parking lot with oyster processors, and we've got fishermen that are coming and going from our dock all the time. We've got a clam processing plant nearby. So we're always touching base with these industries and with these people that are relying on these resources that we're studying. And so the location down here in Bivalve, New Jersey, as well as the long-standing relationship of this lab with the industry is something that makes my work possible. I really couldn't be as integrated as I am without being here. The next steps in my research going forward, I'm looking at expanding to other species. So far in New Jersey, I've mostly been focusing on the surf clam ocean quahog fishing industry and the oyster fishing industry in Delaware Bay. But going forward, I'm expanding my interaction with the oyster aquaculture industry in New Jersey, as well as the hard clam aquaculture industry, and starting to do some work with the scallop fishery. And so going forward, I want to expand into some of the other fisheries, some of the other important shellfish and fishery and aquaculture species